Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Psychic Tarot Show with ASHALA, coming to you live here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channels every week. This week, of course, we are looking at the forecast starting today, which is the last day of May 2025 and going till the 6th, 7th of June. So lovely to see you all here. My apologies for coming on a little bit late. It's been such a hectic morning for me. I had my lovely trip to Vancouver, visited with Janine, did all kinds of other visits and errands and things like that. Didn't get home till 1 in the morning. And we took the last ferry across to the island. So it was a little, lots of catching up and unpacking and stuff to do today. So thank you for your patience, everybody. And yeah, before we get started, of course, I'm going to remind you, as always, to like, share, and subscribe over here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube channel. So let me just pull this up. There we go. And of course, you can also follow us over here on Rumble and check it out, folks. We're at 80K. Awesome. And if you would like to book a session with me, I'm back and have sessions available, I believe, the week after this coming one, not this coming one, but the week after. So jump on over there. You can book a 1-hour private consultation with me. These are recorded. You receive the recording of the consultation. This is a psychic intuitive tarot reading. I do a big picture overview of where your life is at right now, and then we look at specific questions, and we can get into some real specifics. And I love supporting you with sorting out the details of life and feeling empowered and clear about moving forward. There's so much uncertainty in this time that we're in, and any kind of clarification. I use these tools regularly. It was awesome to hang out with Janine. Of course, it's a special treat for us when we get together because we get to share readings, and you know, it's just we're so busy. We don't often have the opportunity to take advantage of those tools that we share. So thank you, Bobby. Happy solar return. Good afternoon, Phoenix and Toronto and Indiana. Hi, Lupo. A Digibeam. Aw, thank you. I did have a lovely birthday. Good morning from Australia. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty early where you are, Christina. Welcome, Vermont and Hawaii, California. Aw, yay. Lovely to see you all here. So I've got the cards cleared, and let's tune our energy in together. Let's take some deep grounding breaths. Moving into the heart center, it's through this power neutral portal aligned with the greater good of all that I do receive insights and messages from all of our guides that are able to meet us in this portal or this bandwidth. So as I've said many times, whatever is coming through that portal, that frequency aligned with, as I say, the greater good, it's power neutral, and it's going to be supportive. Even if we are looking at some challenges, it always presents that information in a way that gives us a perspective of what might be relevant and how this might be helpful for us and what we can do to move forward in a good way. You know, in alignment with the greatest version of ourselves and our future potential. So, without further ado, let's have a look at this upcoming week, starting with the House of Aries, jumping in full tilt. So we have, I'm just going to move that light a little bit so it's not shining on the cards. There we go. So we have in the House of Aries, a lovely card, a number 7. Sevens are spiritual. They're a lot about our spiritual journey. They're very much about our own work inwardly. When we get 7s, it's like we're on a spiritual quest. We're learning a lot about our own nature, our own character. There's character development. 7 of Wands, in the old-fashioned tarot, we used to call it valor. So there is this energy of being in frequency alignment. The 7 is the frequency of perfection. And so there is a frequency alignment this week that we're coming in already kind of, I want to say, spiritually tuned up. And no matter what's coming at us, that's a really nice place to arrive from. So next card in Taurus. Okay, so Taurus is showing us another wand is there. This time it's the 9. 9 is the number of the synthesis. It's the final gathering up of all the loose ends. With Taurus, it's about our security, our finances, overall our material well-being, a lot of gathering up of all the loose ends. And it could feel like you're kind of holding on. You may feel very, very stretched, maybe even overextended. It's interesting that this card, if you notice here, the 7 of Wands character is literally holding the high ground, but also in a way holding the two sides of the valley together. So the 9 also has this hang in there, holding it together feeling about it. It is the last lap. And this fellow looks tired. Yes, he's got a bandage across his head. He looks a little battle weary. And this is in the area of material resources, our money or security. So it could feel like you're stretched and you're holding on. We'll see what's around it and across from it to see how well that's aspected. We'll observe. Okay, so in Gemini, it's aspected in a challenging way. So this is the first challenging aspect we've seen really in a few weeks. And we are still in Gemini season. In fact, we are barely into it. We are barely, halfway through it. By the end of this week, we'll be getting about halfway through it. So this could be where the amount of information, right? Gemini is about our information, our ability to process information, to share information, communicate. A lot of fear is in the airwaves. The moon is about the deep subconscious, and it's about going to those places that are hidden. So again, information coming to the surface, more and more information that starts to feel a little bit nightmarish, to be honest, with this card. With the moon and Gemini, it's like our minds can play tricks on us. We can feel that there's so much distortion energy, and it can be somewhat concerning and confusing. We're going to look at what's around that and what's across from it to see how we can support or prepare to direct that energy in a good way. And just knowing that, having that foreknowledge gives us an opportunity to kind of pivot maybe and re-strategize. So certainly I would say not a great week to pour over, information in the back channels, because there seems to be a lot of distortion going on in general. Let's see what's on this other side of this. In Cancer. Okay, so are you noticing a trend, folks? Look at this. We have the 7, the 8, and the 9 of Wands. What's that called in when you're playing cards and you get the run or whatever it's called? Yeah. So 7, 8, 9 of Wands. It is the last section, except for the 10, which is really burnout and overdoing it. But this is a lot of energy, right? The Wands are energy as we get up to the higher numbers, past 6, basically. The 7s, the 8s, the 9s, you'll even see this, right? The 7, he's hanging in there. Well, he's holding the high ground, holding things together. The 8 is a lot of energy coming at us. And this feels, because it's in our home, it's in the area of Cancer, this feels like none of us escaping this. So I get almost more like geomantic stress, earth energy stress because this is the root chakra position of the wheel of the week. There's a tension that is building. So a lot of energy building up. And then, of course, the 9, the last of that run, is the last, holding everything together, hanging in there. Let's see what's next. I promise you I'm going to sort of guide you through this process so that we can make sense of the big picture, because this is the first wheel for the last few weeks where it looks like it is somewhat more demanding, let's just say, energetically on us and spiritually and psychologically. I do love what, a flush, Digibeam says. Thank you. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for. And Digibeam is also saying, we're here to light up the night. Yes. Right. Appropriate for the duality of Gemini. Yes, probably that is right. And lots of fire. Yeah. The wands are representing the fire sign. They are the energy of fire, everything that moves quickly. So there are spiritual energy, our chi, our life force, the energies of the earth, and the element of fire. So we've also seen a lot of fire activity already here in Canada. Yeah, possible straight flush. Okay. Yeah, it feels like we are holding it all together. Aw, yay. So let's keep going and see what the next, our Leo position has to offer us. Leo was really about opening our hearts, what we're ready, willing, and able to receive, how we're able to be seen. This is good. So another wand, though. Now we'll talk when we get closer to the end of this wheel. What does it mean when you have so much of one sign? Just like in astrology, what does it mean when you have so many planets in one house? It gives us the ability to do certain things, but it also inhibits us in other ways. So we'll talk about that. 2 of Wands in Leo. So seeing how you can, I want to say, interact or affect the world creatively. Wands are creativity. This is a card that has to do with seeing the distance, having that big picture perspective, making educated decisions about the future, where you're going to take your energy. And also, I want to say, with it being in Leo, there's a sense of seeing the world as being a small place, sensing that we are not that different, and that we, just like on platforms like Beyond Mystic, where we're seeing people in our community all over the globe. You'll notice how he's holding the globe in his hand and it seems like small because he's up so high, he can see how everything is connected. You've heard me talk about how the sign of Gemini is very good at this. It's very good at connecting the dots. There could be a feeling of encouragement, because Leo is our courage, around seeing the big picture and how everything is connected. That's nice. And yet it's also another wand, another element of fire. Oh my gosh, here we go. Another wand. So this is in Virgo. Virgo is our habits, our health. It has to do with the little details of life and also kind of establishing our routines and so on. This is not a routine card. This is about breaking out of routines. So it could be a good week with all this fire, all this spirit, all this creative energy to break habits to break old routines. It may be hard to set a habit, to set something new. Do you see all this movement energy? It may be hard to start a new, let's say, lifestyle change or habitual change, but it could be a good time to drop something. You know, there's this feeling with this card, Page of Wands. The pages are initiators, they start something. The wands are the fire, the life force energy. This is a little catalyst, a little you know what disturber. And so it's in that daily habits, details. Virgo likes to have everything organized. It could feel this week like it doesn't matter how hard you try, you're not going to be able to organize. There's going to be constant disruptions and spontaneous pivots, a need to stay alert, stay on your toes. Okay. Whew. Finally a different sign. We have Queen of Swords in the house of Libra. So she is naturally a mediator, but she's also very, I want to say, let's say detached and somewhat discerning, maybe even known as being cold and insensitive. There's a real sense of no BS with this queen in this position. We have the opportunity to kind of lay down the law in our relationships of all kinds, also with any sort of legal matters, anything that you are working on in terms of contracts and agreements. You could do very well setting agreements this week, like writing the contracts. Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. It might not be the warmest feeling week in terms of your partnerships. Everybody might be feeling a bit, I want to say, cut off, or just looking after themselves. And knowing that, we can say, well, it's not personal. With all this energy and that Seven of Wands in the house of Aries, the house of self, this Two of Wands in the house of Leo, of, you know, both of those being very much about our ego, there's a lot of looking out for ourselves this week. And, you know, it could be a good week to negotiate your boundaries, your standards, and so on with your relationships. It doesn't mean we're being mean to each other. It just means that it's a bit serious. And it's probably a good thing, I feel like. Okay, everybody ready? Here we go, Scorpio. Another fire. Whoa. So, you know, in terms of the likelihood of how many do we have so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Already we got half this spread is fire. So energy, huge energy. What are you going to do with that energy? Are you going to utilize it to, you know, accelerate, break old habits? Are you going to utilize it to get really clear and sovereign in your relationships, in your boundary setting? You're going to be feeling it. You can't hide away. Even in the home space, there's a lot coming towards you. And it could be that there's a lot of attention and opportunities. There's just a lot of energy in the air. And what I like about the Knight of Wands in Scorpio is that Scorpio is this ending and new beginning. It has to do with our, you know, kind of rebirth. And the Knight of Wands is the spiritual warrior. So again, a lot of big spiritual work this week around your own integrity. You know, we've got Valor, Seven of Wands in Aries, So your own personality, a lot of personal character and valor. And we've got the Knight of Wands, the spiritual warrior in Scorpio. Very much, it doesn't feel heavy, except for this moon card in Gemini. But again, there's a sense of really standing firm in our own beliefs, in our own spiritual integrity. Okay, let's keep going. I'm so excited. It's so intriguing to me how when we share together and observe as a group and hold space to receive messages that are going to be relevant for all of us, how profound these messages come. Okay, so we have another sword, and this one is in the house of Sagittarius. Sagittarius, with all this fiery energy, Sag has us wanting to go be spontaneous, go on a big adventure, think outside the box. It's very Jupiter-like. I believe it's ruled by Jupiter, so it's got that big, expansive energy to it. This is not that. So this is about being very much tied by your own beliefs or programming. And what you may feel, you know, if you think about when we increase the amount of energy, let's just say you are being held hostage by something from your past programming or your belief systems, even unconsciously, right? This is across from that moon. Ooh, I just got the chills when I said that. Unconscious things coming up where we realize how we have just been acting like victims. It's, when you have those revelations and you're like, I can't believe I didn't see that. And what it could feel like, it's chafing from being bound by those programs. And I know so many of you are very aware, very awake, and even amongst us awake people, we can be caught very off guard or suddenly have these epiphanies where we're like, oh my gosh, I'm still locked in by certain ways that I look at life, by certain ways that I don't allow myself to be creative, to access all this spiritual energy. So it feels like, because there's so much energy in the system this week, you're going to feel where you're restricted. And those restrictions are going to feel uncomfortable. It's meant to bring your awareness to where you need to loosen up and release. I know we'd like to wave a magic wand and have all that programming gone. And like I've been saying for a while now, I also, like Janine, believe that the majority of these systems have already been dismantled. What we're doing is playing out almost like the hangover of this horrible lockdown we've been in for literally thousands of years. And yet we're so, I want to say, programmed to be in it that we can't even see, even once the bars are gone, they still look like they're there, or they feel like they're there. So allowing things to emerge from the subconscious this week. Oh, yeah. John is saying, I get the feeling all the hard work of lighting up the dark side is having an effect, still not there, but making a dent. Okay, I want to tell you, all of you, and thank you, John, that I had an image earlier today, and I thought I would bring it into the live at some point if it felt relevant, and it does feel relevant to exactly this. And the image I was being shown was the image of, how they say, like a lotus flower, which is the most beautiful, just exquisite, perfumed, gorgeous frequency flower. It comes out of like a cesspool, like a swamp, stinky, gross, composting muck. And you're kind of there going like, How does that come out of there? And yet we know that compost makes the best fertilizer to grow the best new whatever it is. And so the guides, I call them the guides. Basically, I'm tuning into my own guidance team, which is, vast and complex. And I tune in and only receive messages that come through that bandwidth. So I'm not too worried about who they're coming from because I know the quality is there. And what I was being shown is that as the light, exactly what John just said, as the light increases or warms us. I mean, look at all the heat from all these wands just heating everything up, lighting everything up. That, if you think of the swamp, it becomes very active, right? What happens when you put a lot of light into a swamp? Everything starts to burst with life, right? The actual really healthy things come to life and grow out of the swamp, like the lotus. But for a while, it's gross. It stinks. It's like, ew, it just feels, now it's not just this dormant swamp sitting there. Now it's a stinky, gross swamp. And I feel like that's where we are. The light has activated things and they are literally transmuting. We're going to have a flourish. An algae bloom comes when there's warmth. So we're going to have this bloom of spiritual energy and new growth, but we are still just coming out of this stinky swamp. So it can be very, very discouraging. And yet, thank you. Yeah, from the most dismal of circumstances, a beautiful flower may arise. Life springs from compost, right? Yeah, black gold. Thank you for your feedback, everybody. There's so much of the programming hanging on, even if you're awake. That's this Eight of Swords, self-imprisonment. Really great feedback, and thank you. Keep the comments coming. I'm sorry I don't get to all of them, but I really feel you there, and I appreciate your input. So let's see what's at the top. The other piece that you could say very practically about this Eight of Swords is it's going to feel like it doesn't feel certain to do any major traveling. You may feel like you're sort of bound and there's not a lot of options. So hang tight. We're going to see what the rest of this wheel looks like and maybe get an idea of when this energy is going to shift. Okay, so love it. Finally, a pentacle shows up. Finally, a pentacle shows up. Probably one of my favorite pentacles. In fact, this is so exciting to have the Three of Pentacles in that position. I almost want to cry. I feel really emotional about this. This position is Capricorn. Capricorn is our self-actualizing, coming into our life purpose. We used to call it career, now I call it like life work, what you're meant to do, your big contributions here on earth. And all of this energy, right? Like nothing feeling very stable, nothing feeling very secure or grounded, or it's just a lot of that light, that warmth, warming up the swamp. Everything stinks, everything's coming to life, but it's a wild time, right? A very, very activated time. And we're not feeling like we know what to do with all of that yet. This Three of Pentacles tells us in time, we will work together. Do you see these three characters working together? Now, what I like about this, it's old-fashioned imagery, but if you notice, there's something about equality in here. We have the worker is actually standing above the planner and the funder. The worker has the upper position, which is unusual because normally the worker would be lower down the totem pole, right? So just even metaphorically, they're elevated. This character that looks very feminine is actually holding the design. So the feminine designing, the worker elevated, and then this character at the back is really just listening to those two, maybe going to be providing some of the funding or whatever. But it's so curious that what I love about this is that there's a lot of equality. Everyone's different. We all bring different things to the table, but we're going to learn to work together. And it isn't going to be a, dog eat dog or top dog kind of energy. This is really cooperative and very entrepreneurial. I always call this Three of Pentacles the entrepreneur. So it's in your position of your, what we used to call career, what I now call life purpose, self-actualization. So all of this uncertainty is going towards building something. And, I love that in conjunction with this Two of Wands down here, the big picture perspective. So the sense is that we don't know exactly what we're going to be doing, but we're starting to feel engaged in getting involved, in working collaboratively. So what that tells me is we're quite far along in terms of our ego and the old programming around what does life work look like. One of the things that I find kind of interesting and a little bit, maybe a bit perplexing over the years is I have so many, viewers and followers and clients that have the most incredible ideas, visions, and intentions. However, they all talk about, I'm going to buy this land, I'm going to set up this retreat center. And I start to go, okay, I kid you not, like 80% of you have that vision. And I'm kind of going, okay, so we're all going to be on our own retreat centers and who's going to go to each, like it feels there's something about we haven't quite got to the place where like, actually, I'm going to work with a couple of other people who are on our team and we're going to work together because more, minds and hands and hearts working on something produces even better results. And what this is showing me is that we are there. People are actually, our community are actually going, yeah, I don't want to do this by myself. I want to do this with other people who have a similar vision. And that is being activated right now. There's a lot of messages and people are sharing ideas and getting excited about working together. And that to me is probably for real the very best step that we can take again away from this old programming and to completely free ourselves from the cabal and the dark controlling forces. It's the absolute antithesis of what the cabal and the dominators want. They want us to all be isolated, to all be trying and struggling on our own, to feeling like this, like we have to wait for someone to fix it for us. The thing they do not want is for us to join forces. They don't want that. So let's do it. Pretty easy, right? Let's do it. And you can say, well, I don't know. Just talk about your ideas. Just talk in our community about what you're thinking and then talk about, who's in your area. I feel like this is going to really get going within the next 2 or 3 years. So the beautiful thing about having that card there is it's saying it wouldn't be there if we weren't kind of there already energetically. So we all know it takes a while for the pentacles to catch up with our energy. But all this energy moving this week is taking us to being ready, and then just keep putting it out there and wait at least 3 months. When you put something out, the guides are saying, when you put an idea out, when you put a, an invitation out, lots of ideas and invitations going out, wait at least 3 months, because we're still energetically, think about that swamp, right? The light is coming on it, the heat is heating up, but it takes a while for the lotus to get from the bottom all the way to the surface. So just keep sending the messages out. I want to work with people. I want to collaborate and co-create. This is what they don't want us to do. That's what I'm going to commit to doing. And I want to have fun doing it. And I want it to be a win-win situation for everybody. And I want us all to flourish, because the main message here is we can do better than in just one of us or our own little family flourishing. We can actually stimulate the growth and cross-pollinate, and everybody flourishes better than they could individually. So we're ready for that, or it wouldn't be there. Kind of exciting. Okay. Oh, and we finally have some cooling water on all this fire. 3 of Cups in the House of Friends. And look at this. I honestly, they're saying we're going back in a way about 30 years in terms of suddenly there's going to be this frequency of things feeling lighter emotionally. So even though we have in our serious committed relationships and partnerships and so on, there's a lot of contracts, setting boundaries, maybe a little bit of like distance around the real serious relationships. And again, that is not coldness. It's actually care. Because if we didn't care, we wouldn't take the time to set those parameters. However, over here in general friendship and community, amongst our community, this is celebration. 3 of Cups is bringing joy. Again, you saw I just said here, we're not only going to do this 3 of Pentacles, entrepreneurship, working together collaboratively, we're going to have fun doing it. The other thing that the cabal doesn't want, they don't want us collaborating and working together, and they certainly don't want us having fun doing that. Right? And think about it for a minute. What is all this effort to divide us and to terrify us so we can't have a fun time, so we don't feel joyful? Follow through with where that leads you. If that is so dangerous, why? Why is that so dangerous to them? Because it really changes things. It creates magical little mini miracles all over the place, just like the lotus is popping up out of the mud. So we're at that point where it's ramped up to the point where all the messages are like, it stinks, life on earth is gross, look at everything going wrong, gross. And we're there saying, I hear you, and I'm putting this out there and knowing this shall come to pass, and it will be born out of this swamp, basically. And it'll be not just okay, it'll be beautiful, next level. Okay, so kind of fun, right? Joy is sacred. Yeah. Right? They don't want joy because it lights up their night. Yeah. So, I love it. Right? Dark side feeds on hate. Now, this doesn't mean that we just say, like, oh, we're just going to ignore everything. And in fact, again, does the lotus flower say, oh no, stay away from me, you gross swamp? I'm going to ignore you. It says, yep, I'm going to utilize all that, I want to say, composting frequency and turn it into something beautiful. Yeah. Celebrate good times, right? Yeah. And again, we can literally have these little blips where it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back 30 years ago just around these certain things. Like I suddenly feel like lighthearted and joyful. And instead of going like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that way, that's terrible. Like there's so much seriousness in the world and this is wrong. I've got to get back to, better watch some more stuff and get myself worried again because I can't afford to be lighthearted. It's like, okay, whoa. Yeah, you are transmuting that poison and turning it into this. I would agree if you'd never watched any of this, but you are like the super transmuters. You guys have ingested mega doses of poison. So you're transmuting it. If you can feel joy knowing what you know, wow. Right? We're winning. Yeah. Alchemy, turning trash into art. Yeah. Last card. I love doing this with all of you, by the way. I really love it. Bless your souls, bless your hearts, truly, and your minds. And definitely your courage. Okay. Final card. In the house of Pisces, deep subconscious. We've got the moon here. Let's see, what's it going to be? Of course. So you notice we've got two hang in there's. In fact, I call this, hang in there, and I call this hang in there. And you notice they're hanging in together over on the side here around Aries, holding it together. Hang in there, holding it together. This is the little hang in there because it's a minor arcana. This is the big hang in there. So again, the bigger hang in there is like this lifetime. We came here to do big work. Hang in there. And that's Pisces. That's our subconscious. That is our deepest knowing something's going on here. Even when it doesn't appear, even when it appears, we're stuck, right? This one, stuck, can't do anything, can't move. This one, stuck, can't move. Even when it appears like that, look at all this fire, spiritual and warrior, integrity, the boundary queen, setting parameters, entrepreneurship, working, collaborating with others joyfully, busting the algorithms. Good job, everybody. Good job. These cards wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. Last one. In the center. Oh. Okay. Another pentacle. And the most hardworking of all. If you want to get a job done, like practically, pragmatically, if you want to just get stuff done, and the one card of the tarot you're going to choose is the Knight of Pentacles. He's slow, he's steady, he stays on track. You see all those furrows in the ground and a distance? He's plowed those furrows. He's having the rare moment of seeing his work but he's ready to go back and work some more. So he's just like kind of the Energizer bunny in terms of he never gives up. He stays on task. He gets things done. He's hardworking, practical. So we're just going to quickly take stock of the suits before we close off here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wands. Well, that's as many as we got in the final result, which is still half this week's, well, almost half if you don't include the center card. A lot of fire, a lot of spirit, a lot of energy, a lot of heat, things heating up. Okay. And then we have how many swords? 1, 2. So the mind feeling a little bit constricted and needing to not dive too deep right now. The swamp is gross, right? Maybe just hold tight there. And that Queen of Swords, as I said before, she is creating contracts, agreements, setting the tone, setting boundaries, no BS. And then how many cups? We have 1 little cup. So emotions, joy, spontaneous breakthrough, eruptions of joy, enjoy them and celebrate that. And don't worry that it doesn't seem possible or in alignment. Just be like, yeah, we've designed it that amidst all of this, we are feeling joyful. And Pentacles, we have 1, 2 Pentacles now. We have that 3 at the top, which is fantastic. And the little Knight of Pentacles in the center. Stay on track, stay grounded, be prepared to set the tone for more and more collaboration down the road. Exactly what they don't want us to do. That's what we're set. That's what's right now, the direction we're all headed. Slowly and steadily. This guy moves, this is definitely the tortoise in the Tortoise and the Hare story. Slow and steady, everybody. Great. Just coming to check your comments. Aw, thank you, early morn. Well, it's easy to be encouraging because I feel so encouraged by your warmth, your energy, your strength, your courage, all of you. I feel you. And it really helps me to stay on track, to stay heart-centered. If you weren't here, I'm sure I would have long ago lost hope. Yeah. We need each other, all of us. Aw, thank you. Okay. Aw, thank you, Lupo. Methodical as well, right? Digibina is saying that Knight of Pentacles is methodical. Thank you for your comments, everybody. Yeah, isn't this amazing? Can't imagine riding these waves without all of you. And then it becomes not only is that like, we can't imagine doing it without, but we actually are like, oh my gosh, we're so fortunate to have each other, not just to get through this, but what can we do as we get clearer, as the swamp eventually, right? Like there'll be so much new growth that the stinky, stagnant stuff will be transmuted and suddenly it's going to smell great. Right? Yeah. Okay, everybody. Well, we're going to just quickly zip on over. There's a few things I want to show you before we sign off. So here we go. This is Ascension Orgonites, and they are having that Father's Day giveaway. If you haven't gone over and checked this out, when you make your purchases, you have an opportunity to be entered to this draw. And here are some of the prizes that you can win. And this is open worldwide. Winners announced on June 17th. And there's all the details of how you can enter the giveaway. So jump on over to that site and check it out. And if you would like to book a session with me, you can find me right here, the Beyond Mystic Consultations page. As I said before, I'll be taking appointments in the week after this coming week. Would love to meet up with you and talk about what's going on for you personally and be able to support you in your journey. If you aren't already following us on Rumble, here we go. Maybe even follow and share so that you can get more people joining, because I just see that we are going to be in the next year swamped in a good way. Yeah. And finally, of course, you can find us here on YouTube. Lots of great shows coming up. And speaking of the upcoming schedule, today is Saturday. Tomorrow, Sunday, we have Beyond Astro at 7 p.m. Eastern, and the Wacky Woo on Rumble, YouTube, and X with JC and Penny Kelly. And that is at 8 o'clock p.m. So have a beautiful rest of your week, everybody. It's been awesome as always to share with you here, and I look forward to seeing you next week or on Tuesday with Meg on the Above Below show. Bye for now. Have a great week.